Thank you for joining our webinar today. We've got an exciting session for you focused on PROJILITY's experts sharing their top tips and tricks. This is episode 7. You can catch up on all of our previous episodes on our YouTube channel. The goal is to provide guidance to help you get more out of Microsoft Project. Let's get started. My name is Annie Levand, and I'm with a Microsoft Gold partner called PROJILITY. We've been implementing Microsoft Project and portfolio management solutions and developing enterprise-level applications for over 19 years for large enterprises, including everything from engineering, construction, IT, and new product development. PMOs and CIOs typically come to us when they can't easily explain what's going on across all their projects. They don't know what resources are working on what work, and they have a hard time getting consistent reports and metrics to make project-based decisions. We're known for having a 98% on-time, on-budget track record for successfully implementing these solutions for clients. We offer services and solutions in 3 core areas. Deployment consulting services, PROJILITY's core business. We provide professional services for successfully planning and implementing Microsoft Project Portfolio Management, including Microsoft Project Online, Planner Premium, integrating PPM with line of business applications, and delivering strategic portfolio management solutions to support top-level management planning. PROJILITY also offers a set of Hammerhead pre-built software solutions and accelerators based upon 19 years of experience, including a set of Hammerhead products that provide improved access to your cloud PPM data, accelerate access to visual reports and dashboards using Power BI, connect data between your PPM system with Microsoft Teams, and extend connectivity into Active Directory to improve visibility, insight, and control of your work, people, and projects. New to our offerings is Hammerhead Power Pro, which is a pre-built solution crafted on the foundation of the Microsoft Power Platform and Planner Premium. This offering is designed to bring help to some of our lessons learned from this platform to your organization. Finally, PROJILITY provides post-implementation support services, including expert care, designed to assist your PMO with gaining on-demand expertise on the solution supported. We have a full online automated e-learning offering that can improve consistency and adoption for your users of your project management tools. You can learn more about all of our services and solutions on our website at PROJILITY.com. We have upcoming webinars covering sessions on best practices for Project Planner Premium and PPM processes and tools. Sign up for this and all of our events following the links here or ask for a copy of today's deck. All videos from this and previous series are available on our best practice playlist on YouTube listed on this page. Topics range from managing your digital transformation program using PPM technologies to integrating PPM with agile line of business applications. Feel free to subscribe and access this library at any time and share with your colleagues. I'd like to introduce Oscar Rodriguez, consultant here at PROJILITY, who will be taking us through today's agenda. Oscar, the floor is yours.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to PROJILITY's 7th episode of the Tips and Tricks webinar. As Annie stated, my name is Oscar Rodriguez. I am a PPM consultant here at PROJILITY. I began using Microsoft Project in 2020. At the moment, I have over 5 years of software project management experience and business analyst. Currently, I'm living in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And just a quick fun fact about me, I love climbing, diving, hiking, anything having to do with nature. And today, I am going to be sharing the following topic with you. So just to go quickly over the agenda, we're going to be talking about leveraging project schedule templates in Microsoft Project. So we're going to have a brief introduction to what a project schedule template is. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the best practices that we have to kind of keep in mind when working with project schedule templates. We'll talk a little bit about the different types of templates that we have available. Then we're going to talk about creating a new project using one of these templates. Then finally, a little bit about using templates when you are using Project Online. And we're going to wrap up with a Q&A session to answer any questions that you guys might have had along the way. All right, so next up. So what is a project schedule template? So a project schedule template is essentially a pre-designed project plan that provides kind of a standardized structure for project scheduling and task management. So it's a pre-designed project plan that includes these pre-configured tasks. These tasks may already have some dependencies and some predecessors assigned to them. Then you're also most likely going to have these generic resource assignments. And when I mean generic resource, right, I mean those kind of unnamed resources, kind of specifying what type of resource or what type of named resource you might be using along with the project. So I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of using schedule templates. So first thing, it helps maintain consistency and standards across your projects. It'll also save you time up front when creating any new projects, since you wouldn't have to be creating every single project from scratch. It'll also help you maintain best practices across these different projects, right? So as you set the best practices up, you kind of set yourself up for success with a template. You'll be using these across different projects. You're kind of maintaining those best practices across the way. And then finally, it makes the creation of projects smooth and efficient. So let's talk a little bit about those best practices for using these templates. So the first thing that we have to talk about really is selecting the right template for your project type. So templates are a good starting point, but they're in no way one size fits all. So Microsoft has several different types of project templates that you can use that will most likely better be suited for the type of project that you have. For example, if you have a software project, using a template might not be ideal for that project. But there, is software projects. There are construction software templates or construction templates that will allow you to kind of pick the right template for the project that you're trying to complete. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to do is really customize this template to match your project requirements. So you want to take some time to ensure that the template aligns with your project goals. So once you have an idea of what template you want to use based on your type of project, now it's time to customize that template so that it matches the project requirements or goals that need to be accomplished. Next, you really want to regularly update and refine these templates for future use. There might be times when, as you're going along through multiple projects, each of these projects have kind of been created using templates, you realize that they might all have something in common where they're missing a specific task. Well, you can add that task to a template so that it's part of that kind of starting point for your projects. Same thing with there might be tasks that are really not used anymore for pretty much all your projects. So it might be time to update that so that you can remove that task from the schedule. You could also kind of adjust times based on your experience with multiple projects, right? Adjust those duration and the work that goes into different tasks. So again, just regularly refine the template so that it's ideal and efficient for your use. Next topic would be, creating the longest version of the schedule, which might be used. So you want to consider creating a template with more tasks for a project manager to modify or remove if the tasks are not relevant. So, this helps more than assuming that the project manager will know if any tasks need to be added. Typically, when you're creating a project from these templates, right, there will be tasks that you use, there will be tasks that you might not use, and there will be some missing tasks. So by creating the longest version of the schedule, you're essentially adding all the possibility or all the possible tasks that you may use in that project. And then if there's anything that is kind of irrelevant to that specific project, then it's, a task that you can easily inactivate and then it won't go towards that project. But it remains in the template, right, as other projects may need to use that task. So the idea here is really creating the longest version of the schedule so that it's easier to kind of remove things that aren't needed, as opposed to adding things that might become kind of a little bit of a guessing game or, going through all the different tasks. So it's a little bit more efficient if you already have the long version of the schedule. Next up is also creating task dependencies throughout the schedule. So you may already see that, these different tasks have kind of are codependent with each other, and they will one needs to start after the other finishes. Or finish around the same time as the other. So there are different constraints that you may be able to use, but then create these task dependencies in your template so that they reflect at the time that you create the new project. You might have to modify them the same as you can modify other tasks, but oftentimes it'll help to have those dependencies already created for you, as opposed to having to manually reset all those dependencies every single time. Particularly when a lot of the projects most often share the same dependencies throughout tasks. At this time, you're also going to want to create estimated work and durations for each of these tasks in the template, right? These are kind of ballpark figures. They don't have to be exact, or they don't have to represent exactly what these what the duration or the work for each task may be. But again, it serves as a really good starting point, a really good reference that, once you create the project and you realize that a specific task might take a little bit longer than usual for this project, then it's something that you can modify there as well. But it's good to have that starting point to know kind of what is the, where is everyone at with this specific task. Next thing is assigning generic resources to tasks. So once you have all your kind of tasks set up, your dependencies set up, it's a good time to assign generic resources. So this is going to help project managers really understand the type of resource who would complete that specific task, right? So generic resources are intended to be a resource use that is a resource used mainly for planning as opposed to actual work. This oftentimes comes, they're kind of put in with the kind of department name. Sometimes they'll be called something like PMO, or they'll be called project manager or analyst, right? And then you want to use these generic resources to put in the different tasks so that when a project manager starts this new project, he already knows that these tasks, these template tasks, are going to need either a project manager assigned to them or an analyst or whatever resource it may be. So it's really going to provide a visibility into any upcoming planned tasks that still don't have a named resources. All right, so our next topic is going to be the types of templates that we have available. So we have built-in Microsoft project templates. So Microsoft already includes several templates that you can use with project. One of them, for example, being the software development template that we're going to be using in the demo today. There is also construction templates, marketing templates, all the different types of schedules you can imagine. There's so many out there with Microsoft alone that you're able to use to kind of get started working with templates. And then another interesting one is, custom organizational templates. So you can actually create company-specific templates that are aligned with company best practices. And that will also kind of going back to our first point, so one of the benefits, it'll maintain that consistency across your projects, right? If your organization has a specific way of managing these projects, you can kind of highlight that in the custom organizational templates, and then kind of have all the rest of the projects follow suit. All right, so I'm going to quickly go over to Microsoft project, and we're going to be talking over these different best practice points, right? What to look out for really when we're looking at a project template. So this webinar demo project is based off of a software template. So if I'm here, I'm a project professional, and I'm kind of looking throughout the schedule, I want to make sure, well, the first things is that I'm selecting the right template for the project, right? So if this is going to be a software project, then this software template is probably a great place to start, right? It might not give you all the things you need at the moment, but that's what we're going to be working through. So the next thing that you want to do is really customize the template to match your project requirements. And one example of that may be something along the lines of, during software requirement phase, let's say that the develop delivery timeline might be 2 days. So that's something that you can easily change here, right? There might be a chance where that develop delivery timeline isn't really necessary for this project. So one thing you can do is just, click on the task and then just quickly go to the schedule portion here in the ribbon, in the task ribbon, and then you can inactivate it. And now what that's going to do is going to have the schedule kind of skip over that task, including the dependency, but then carry on with the rest of the task. And you can kind of go in here and say, I really don't need this amount of tasks here. You can inactivate them. You could also just kind of modify their names if need be to represent what is actually going on in the project. One thing I want to steer you away from, though, as a best practice is deleting tasks. So if I were to, let me reactivate this task real quick. If I were to delete this task, it's going to delete the dependency, which is then, as you can see, putting this task or putting the rest of the task at the pretty much start of the project. So you really don't want to do that because it'll mess kind of with the scheduling. So I usually advise against doing that. So inactivating would probably be your best bet. I undid that change. If I inactivate it, once again, it just kind of skips over that task and then it goes on to the next one. So again, at this moment, what I'm really doing is customizing the template to match my project requirements, right? It's at this time that I can go in and kind of modify the template as well if I've noticed and I want to update it and I want to add a task that all the projects recently have been going through, then I can definitely add it at this point, right? And keep it updated. So as you can see, this project was set up with that idea of the longest version of the project. So it has a good amount of tasks. Some of them might not be needed again for this project. So it's a good time to just kind of remove these tasks. And then if there's anything that is missing, I can always add a new task here as well, and then set up those dependencies for them as well. It's at this time that you can also kind of go into the project. I'm going to quickly go into view on my task form, and I can modify the work, right? I can modify the units of work that are, or the hours of work that are going into this project. Let's say it's going to be 8 hours instead. So I can click on 8 and click OK, and that obviously changed it there for me as well, right? So again, I'm modifying all the different work points. The duration of the task might be a little different. Let's say this task again is 3 days instead. So I can just modify all of this now. And once I get my project to a point where it's workable and I can use this or this template to manage my project, I can assign different tasks to different resources. So this is what you're seeing here, right? The management resource, that's a generic resource. We also have project manager. These are all generic resources. So, right, if it said project manager, I could put maybe myself as it, but am I going to be the project manager for all the different projects? Probably not. So for the template, you want to keep these generic resources so that when you create the project, you're able to kind of switch them up for the named resources for that specific project. But it's a good stepping stone to already have these resources kind of laid out here so that when a project manager comes and it's time to replace these within the actual project, then they know what type of resource will go in there. The next portion I wanted to talk about was about creating new projects. So if I were to create a new project, if you look at the Office tab of the templates here, you have a very long list of different templates that you can use. Some of the suggested searches show different project schedules. You have analysis templates. You have different industry templates. So if I click on industry, it'll show you different ones. Corresponding to this, we have a market research schedule. We have the software development schedule. You also have business, technology, marketing. So these are all kind of classifications of different templates that you can pretty much use right off the bat if you're using Microsoft projects. So this is where you would really find the different types of templates that you want to use. All right. So the next topic we're going to be talking about is really creating a new project using a template. So my template's already set up, everything's ready. I've kind of configured it to the way I want it to be. So what to now, right? Now you're going to create a project using that template. So you want to define the project specific information. So I created the new project. I selected the specific, template that I'm going to be using. Then I'm going to go into the project information and I'm going to search that start date. I'm going to verify that the calendar is accurate. There's also going to be, if you're using Project Online, right, there might be custom fields that you can fill in at this time. And that's something that you can do as well. For tasks and milestones, right, I want to add or remove any tasks or milestones based on the relevance to the project, right? As I was mentioning, if a specific task is not relevant to that individual project, then it might be worth just kind of inactivating it. If there is a specific chunk of work that isn't really represented in that template, then at that moment you would add a task for it. Update any dependencies. If this project kind of changes the dependencies in the template, then that's something that you can modify at this time as well. Once again, kind of update work and duration estimates as needed. And then when you get to really resources, this is where you would switch out those generic resources that come with the template and switch them out for named resources. And at this point, you would have to resolve any workload conflicts, any over allocation issues that kind of appear, and, to ensure that your project is really set up to have a great start. So I'm going to go back to project real quick. I'm going to go here. So let's assume that this is the project I'm ready to start with. So if I go to the project, if I click on the project tab, it'll open the project ribbon. You can see project information here. So here I can set up the start date. So in this case, let's say I want it to start today. So I'm setting up the date there, it would be March 13th. I click enter, that automatically modifies the rest of the dates starting from today, Thursday, March 13th. At this time as well, if I click on change working time, I'll be able to look at the calendar and make sure that, my workday exceptions, my holidays are all accounted for, that everything here makes sense. These are all set up to kind of roll to the next year. So I don't really have to worry too much about modifying them. But now it's a good time to make sure that, again, this calendar really represents the work schedule for this project. Once that's done, you can click OK. And then at this time, if you're in Project Online and there are any custom fields that you would like to fill, you may do so as well by using the custom fields kind of dialog box that you can once you click this button. Now, the next thing that you want to do is really look at the task and the milestones and make sure that these are accurate to your project, right? So if at this time, once again, I'm really not going to need, let's say, these specific tasks. So I can just go here, back to the task ribbon, and then click inactivate. So at this point, I'm really modifying the schedule to fit my current project. Once again, let's just change the duration for this one as an example. So now is really the time that you're modifying this. But as you can see, there's already a list of tasks to really pick from. So I don't really have to kind of write all these tasks down at every single time that I'm creating a new project. So once all your basic, work and duration estimates, your dependencies, and all the milestones that you're going to need, all the tasks that you're going to need are there. Once all of that is updated, you're pretty much good to start replacing these resources, these generic resources for named resources. And I want to show you how to do that really quick. So there's multiple ways to go about it. My favorite way is just clicking on the resource tab. It'll open the resource ribbon. And then you can see here where it says add resources. I'm going to click on that button and you'll see build team from enterprise. If I click on build team from enterprise, it'll open up this modal here. And on this side, you'll see the build team section. And then on this side, you'll see kind of the internal generic resource team that I have assigned to this project. So let's say that I want to add myself to this project. So I'll click on Oscar Rodriguez. I can click add. So I can manually do this, right? I can manually add different users to this project. But something else that I can do that's super interesting is, let's say that I know who my developer is going to be, and I know who my project manager is going to be. So I'm going to select over here, who might that be? And then if I click on replace, once those two are selected, if I click on replace, it's going to remove project manager from here, and it's going to assign the named resource into the project. If I were to click OK, we go back. Anywhere where there was a project manager, we now see Anakin Skywalker, who's my example of a project manager, right? And you can do this again for multiple of them, right? You can go back to resources and just kind of take all the different generic resources and switch them out by just clicking replace. And then that'll do pretty much all the work for you for all the projects where that is assigned. But let's say for this task, if I were to click on this, go to resources, if I were to add someone else here, that's just going to add a second person, right? That wouldn't be replacing it. You could also just kind of delete these here. Sorry. And that would remove the resource, obviously. And then if I were to add, let's say, Anakin here, this was a management task. See how it did not modify the other management task. That is something to keep in mind when replacing these resources. If you want to have all of these tasks replaced, the resources in these tasks replaced, then you would want to use, once again, kind of add resources built in from enterprise, and then start using kind of that replace tool that you have as part of Microsoft Project. And it's at this point that once you kind of set up all the different named resources that you might have for your project, if there are any kind of resource allocation issues or any over allocation is probably what you're going to want to be looking at here. You can always modify it because it'll give you the indicator. You'll be able to go in and just kind of set this up so that your project really starts off on the right foot. All right. So the next thing is, using templates in Project Online. So if your organization is using Project Online, PWA admins have this really cool ability where you can import a project as a template so that your entire organization can use that template. So let's say this specific template that I've been using, I can modify it, and I know that it's gonna match the organizational workflow to managing projects. Then this is something that I can submit to the PWA admin. Once it's approved, and it makes sense to everybody, and usually the project management office approves of it, whatever it may be. Once the PWA admin has this file, he can actually import it directly into PWA as a template instead of as a file. And then once you create a project, it'll be assigned to an enterprise project type. And from that enterprise project type, anytime you create a new project, it will have that template that was assigned to the type. So it's a really cool feature that you have if you're using Microsoft Project Online. Once again, those custom organizational templates is something that can go a long way. And you can have many of them as well, right? If you have a specific workflow for software projects or IT projects, then you can have a kind of an enterprise project type with an associated template for just that kind of project. And then if you have any a construction department with construction projects, then you can have a construction template assigned to their specific project type, which will go a long way. And once again, kind of removing a lot of the excess work and making it more efficient to create these projects and kind of start them up immediately. All right, so as we're reaching the end of the session, I just want to talk about some key points and key takeaways from this. So project schedule templates are here to help you save time and improve consistency across the different projects in your company. You want to follow the best practices to ensure that templates remain effective, adaptable, and helpful. And you don't want to kind of forget about the template to the point where it kind of becomes a burden to use as opposed to something that is helpful and efficient. Microsoft Project provides various template types to select from and to start using today. And customizing tasks, dependencies, and resources will ensure project success. So let's just remember the key factor that templates are not a one size fits all, and they're not going to solve the entire project for you. Once you create this template and you use this template as a project, it is a great reference or starting point to kind of begin working your project. It'll save you a lot of time up front. But right, you still have to do some customizing to those different tasks and dependencies, and as well as resources to ensure that that project is successful. Now, thank you so much for tuning in to this session. We will now have a Q&A session.
Thanks for the presentation, Oscar. Hopefully folks found this useful. We'll now open the floor to Q&A. Remember to enter your questions in the questions and answer manager at the top of your team screen. I see we already have a couple questions. Is there anywhere I can find some good standard templates publicly available that you know of, Oscar?
Yes, so kind of as I was showing, once you open your project and you access that kind of new panel in project, and you'll kind of be met with a lot of different project templates that you can pick from. I just kind of showed you a couple of the ones that are just kind of readily viewable on that screen, but you can use that search bar there to find something that's very specific to your type of project. If you have any other questions regarding any specific type of templates or templates that you don't see in there, I would advise you could talk to you can meet with Annie or Rob to kind of discuss the different needs that you might need for that specific template.
Thanks, Oscar. And as a PMO, can I determine which templates different people have access to in Project Online?
That is correct, and this is exactly how you would kind of do that, right? This goes back to what I was talking about, the enterprise project types. So once you're in PWA, right, and you create an enterprise project type that can be reused, you can also set a specific security measure, right, to only allow that enterprise project type to be assigned to specific users. So you can really control, what type of user can create the different template, or even create a project using that specific template by assigning it to that enterprise project type and managing the security from there.
Any other questions, folks?
So I see a question here. It said, how can templates be stored in a manner so that others can access and utilize them? So again, similarly to what I was mentioning, as a PWA admin, right, you can kind of save a project schedule as a template and kind of go through the import wizard to have it assigned to an enterprise project type in PWA. So, an admin will have to really go into the PWA settings and configure an enterprise project type for that specific project. And then also, once you have the template kind of saved as a template in PWA, you'll be able to pick from a kind of a pick list that they have in the enterprise project type section, and then select the template that you want to use for that project type. Any other questions?
Sir. Yeah, I'm going to ask the same thing. If you think of them after the session, feel free to email us. So how do you get started? If you're interested in exploring the use of Microsoft Project Online to manage and report on your portfolio of projects, resources, and work, feel free to reach out. Our team can assist with helping you understand and evaluate your options, including laying out a roadmap for deploying some of the technology, developing a plan for implementation, as well as guiding you on the support required for success. Our contact information is included here, including a link to our website with lots of good info on the services and solutions available to accelerate your rollout of all the Microsoft project and work management products. Additionally, if you already own Microsoft Plan licenses like most do, and would like guidance on what you can do to best maximize these, let's have a conversation. We could provide options for which technology is the right fit for your PMO, IT organization, or business groups. Microsoft has lots of different offerings, and there's no one size fits all with project management tools. Thank you again for joining our webinar today. We appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you online for our next session. Have a great day.